What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday, another episode this week. Ready to cap off your week and get ready for the weekend. Bunch of great games throughout the week, a bunch of series coming to the close here at the end of this week, and some series that we'll find the end of come this weekend. Let's hop right into it here with the NBA. We're not going to beat around the bush here. It's a late night recording for me. I'm recording this at 11:40 p.m. right after the Suns and Nuggets game. And let's just go ahead and talk about the Suns and Nuggets series, because where we left off last, I recorded on Sunday before that game and before Game 4. We'll briefly go over it. The Nuggets win that game 129-124. That was the whole Nikola Jokic and Ishiba situation where Josh Okogie went for a loose ball out of bounds. Ball went into a fan. Jokic ran over to get the ball. Didn't realize it was Suns owner Matt Ishiba. Grabbed the ball, yanked it away from him, and shoved him. And Ishiba flopped harder than James Harden, Austin Reeves, and LeBron combined. And, got a technical foul, which is ridiculous. I understand that's the rule and the technicality, but absolutely ridiculous that he got a technical foul for that. But in the grand scheme of anything, it didn't really matter. But that was a big note to talk about during that game. In that game, it was the Jokic show and nobody else. Everybody else was shooting terrible. Jokic was dominating like he has the entire playoffs. And then the Kevin and Devin duo went off with 30 points plus each. That's Game 4. Game 5, it was announced that Jokic is not going to be suspended for Ishiba's thing with his altercation with him. They made up before the game. There was no hard feelings, no foul, anything between the two before the game. But Game 5 ended up being 118-102. Denver wins that one on home court. A true team win for Denver. Everybody in the starting lineup had double digits at least. I think everybody had almost 15 or more, honestly. And you could tell Malone was starting to shrink the bench minutes a little bit and allow the starters to play a little bit more, which really led them to their advantage when you could tell that they were running the Suns up and down the court a little bit too much to where their guys were getting a little worn out, especially with the depleted bench that they have where Campaign's now having to start. DeAndre Ayton's not really getting as many minutes. We'll get to him here in just a second. And, Kevin and Devin can only do so much. As we saw in Games 3 and 4, they can go nuclear, but the game's still going to be close. Both of those games were extremely close. But the thing to note about that game is Bruce Brown, 25 points off the bench. Massive, massive, massive achievement for them in that Game 5. And for Phoenix in that game, someone finally scored over 10 points. That wasn't named Kevin Durant or Devin Booker. But honestly, it doesn't matter, because hopping into Game 6 that just concluded, final score 125-100. I guarantee you that score does not reflect that the way that the game was. It was an absolute ass whooping taking place on Phoenix's home court. One by one, every Suns player died in that game. Jokic, being an incredible playoff performer, I think he was a rebound or assist shy of a triple-double. I think he had 35. It was, like I said, an absolute ass whooping. Kevin and Devin could not shoot, and as I've mentioned multiple times on here, you live and die by them hitting shots. You win games because they've hit you a lot of shots, but the one time that at least even one of them has a very off night, your season's done. Your team is completely defeated, and in this case, both guys did not have good nights. But Chris Paul also didn't play in this game after being ruled out for games 3 to 5. He ended up not playing in Game 6 here. But the real talk that everyone's been talking about throughout this series is DeAndre Ayton. Little backtrack for those of you who do not know about DeAndre Ayton's offseason. He was a restricted free agent this past year, which if you're a restricted free agent, that means you are allowed to enter free agency, negotiate with other teams, and you're allowed to sign contracts with other teams. But as a restricted free agent, the team that you were previously on have your rights to then match that contract. So in this case, DeAndre Ayton was a restricted free agent underneath the Phoenix Suns. He had signed an offer sheet with the Indiana Pacers, and the Phoenix Suns had his bird rights, which allowed them to match that contract and basically say, hey, we're gonna give you this contract. You're now back on this team, which obviously you could tell DeAndre Ayton was not very happy about, and it really boiled over during the series between him and Monty Williams and the team. Jock Landale was getting minutes over him because Ayton was not putting in any bit of effort. It looked like he was getting beat out there and getting beat out there on purpose. And they decided here that he had a rib contusion that all of a sudden popped up here before Game 6. And I think that was the dagger in the career that is DeAndre Ayton with the Phoenix Suns, saying, hey, buddy, you've been absolutely crap for us. You've been worthless. You have completely ruined this team's chemistry and the morale within the locker room. So we're going to sit you this game. If we play well, we play well because we were already playing well without you. And if not, we lose. Get ready for a long offseason and probably getting shipped somewhere else. So that's one of the things we're going to look forward to in some of this offseason stuff we'll get into this next week as we look towards the offseason for some of these teams who are now going to find out their fate in the draft lottery this upcoming Tuesday. But yeah, I mean, Game 6 was an absolute smacking. They were down 30 at halftime. I saw everybody saying that Monty Williams might as well pack up his bags and leave because there's no point in playing anymore. And that's basically what it looked like. Campaign, I think, had 20-plus points. Good for him. Shout out Memphis. It's not his fault. He got thrust into the situation, but everybody else was doing terrible. KCP had 20-plus points for the Nuggets. He was wearing Ja ones the other night, so shout out to him for representing Ja. But that series is over. The Nuggets advance to the Western Conference Finals, who they will take on the winner of this Lakers and Warriors series. That is very interesting right now because it's very reminiscent of originally it was very reminiscent of the Lakers and Grizzlies series where the Lakers go up 3-1 and it's like, all right, what are they going to do back at home? Are the Warriors going to blow them out back at home? But Game 4, 104-101 victory for the Lakers. And if you recall in that game, that was an interesting one because that was the Lonnie Walker becomes Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, and Jamal Crawford in like one human that quarter. Had 15 in the fourth or 15 in the second half, whatever it was. Absolutely ridiculous, that game. Klay Thompson being an absolutely worthless basketball player at this point in his career, like he has been for a little bit now. Steph went off, but it didn't matter because the final minute absolutely ruined everything he had produced throughout the entire game. He had, I know, one possession where he chucked up a terrible shot. They got the offensive rebound for him, kicked it back out to him, had a mismatch on Anthony Davis, and tried to do a step-back fadeaway three off his back foot, which made no sense when you got to attack the mismatch, go inside, maybe kick it out to somebody else, try to get a screen, do something else with your time. They ultimately got the ball back with enough time to maybe make a play to win it again. Steph catches the inbound, falls to the ground on his back, and throws the ball behind his head and throws it out of bounds. And it's just like, all right, you had an incredible game. You kept your team in it here just for you to throw it away all in the last minute. And yeah, I understand Klay shot like shit. Jordan Poole is shit. But like as a superstar NBA player, you got to realize I'm on my back now. We have a timeout. I'm calling it, right? Obviously, Steve Kerr told him. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. Steve Kerr, questionable coach. But I'm sure in the timeout, Steve Kerr is like, hey, at least telling you on the inbounds, we have at least one timeout. So everybody's aware that there's a timeout left. Steph just obviously wasn't thinking about it. Cost him that game there at the end. But overall, it was a team effort. So you can't really pin it on Steph because he had really kept them in it throughout the entire time. But you can't stop Lonnie Walker. Klay can't hit a shot. Jordan Poole can't hit a shot. And Steph doesn't remember what to do in closing games. So they ended up losing that game 4, taking the 3-1 lead. And I think it was a stat that said LeBron has never lost a 3-1 lead in his career. He's only ever come back from them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But going on to Game 5 after, There was a thing that I saw Mike Greenberg on ESPN talking about, and he said, should the Lakers rest all their players for Game 5? And it's like, do you realize who you're playing? Like, you cannot say that type of hypothetical. I get it's ESPN, that's their thing. They want to throw out these hypothetical weird situations, but resting your players Game 5, you want to rest LeBron and AD against Steph, Clay. I know Clay's not been playing well, but Steph, Clay, Draymond, Poole, Wiggins, all these guys, like, these guys have been here before. They literally won the championship last year. Like, this is not a team you want to play with your food with. Like, granted, the Grizzlies, I'll take a shot at my own team. That's a team that you're willing to take a rest on. You know, they kind of punted that Game 5 against us, even though they put a lot of effort in and kept that game kind of close. They basically were just like, all right, whatever. You know what? If we lose, we lose, right? That's not the case you got to do with the Warriors. You can't take your foot off the gas at any point in the series, whether you're up 3-0, up 3-1, or it's 3-3 Game 7. You can't let your foot off the gas against this team no matter what. So that was a pretty thing. But Game 5 ended up in the Warriors' favor. They win that game 121-106. AD got hurt. What a surprise. He got taken out in a wheelchair after getting hit in the face. They evaluated him for a concussion, and I think it said that there was no concussion, so he should be a game-time decision for Game 6 on Friday night or tonight as this comes out. But one of the two of the big things to talk about during this Game 5, outside of Clay once again being complete ass, holding up all of his rings on his finger, about showing about how many shots he makes per game now. 4. You're shooting the same percentage as Dylan Brooks in the playoffs. That's not a good sign. I hate to break it to you. That's not good. But two of the big things, Andrew Wiggins had 25 in that game. Andrew Wiggins, dude, like, obviously he had missed the entire season for personal reasons. Nobody really knows of yet. There's a lot of speculations. Don't want to even speculate on it or feed into those rumors just because you never know what's going on in everybody's personal life. But he missed most of the season because of it, and just comes back, had the first round to acclimate himself back to the roster, back to the team, to the chemistry again. And now he's just impacting the playoffs just like he did in round 2 last year against the Grizzlies, where he was a menace on the offensive glass, hitting corner threes and attacking the rim like he's a rookie again. And it's great to see. I'm a big Andrew Wiggins guy. Even though he plays for the Warriors, I'm a big Andrew Wiggins guy. He's a good dude. He deserves a lot of success. And I think he got a lot of hatred early on just because he didn't live up to the immediate potential that everybody threw him on. So I'm glad to see that he's succeeding at least. And apparently Draymond Green is going to come for LeBron's scoring title now, because Draymond's scoring 20 points, finding himself in the right places. Like, what's going on? If Draymond's starting to – there was a point at the beginning of the game. I was watching it with a couple of buddies, and I said it as soon as Draymond took the first 3 and drained it. I said, all right, if Draymond's shooting threes and hitting threes, it's the Warriors win. Every single time, if you look at it, when Draymond is putting up at least 15, it's an instant Warriors win. It's crazy. I don't know the exact stats on it, but you can look it up for yourself. Every single time Draymond gets 15 plus, the Warriors are going to win, because that's not a guy you're expecting to score every single time. So when Draymond's going to give you 15 plus his 6 or 7 assists and rebounds, right? That's going to be plus a couple steals or blocks. You know, he's as much as I, have really not liked Draymond at all throughout my time, right? When he is starting to become this role player in the way that he becomes super pivotal to a team. And I think that's the argument a lot of people have. It's like, hey, look, he's beneficial to the team in a aspect that doesn't show up in the box score. But when he is a benefit to the team in the box score, it's even more of a success. So that's just going to drive him up to wanting the same amount of money Dylan Brooks wants. So good luck for him in the future. But the Lakers are up 3-2. It'll be interesting to see what this series goes to, and to see if the Lakers actually do play with their food. Because once again, like I said, this is not a team you want to play around with and mess around with. You've got to close out the series when you can close it out. And speaking out closing out a series, the Heat couldn't do that on Wednesday night. Wednesday night they couldn't close out the series. We'll quickly talk about Game 4 that happened on Monday. 109-101 victory for Miami. Bam Adebayo went insane that game, double-double, which I called on my last show in my betting segment. I said that Bam Adebayo was going to get you a double-double. Go ahead and bet on it. It was plus 125 when I got it. Easy money. You're welcome if you tailed me on that. But he had 25 and 11, I think. Kyle Lowry had like 15 or 16 off the bench. And the story of this series is that the New York Knicks don't know how to rebound anymore. In round one, they held Jared Allen and Evan Mobley to little to no boards throughout the entire series and made the guards have to gang rebound, which put the Knicks in a great advantage because you have Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, even Jalen Brunson goes and gets boards. That becomes the Knicks' advantage. And throughout this series, it hasn't been an advantage for them because Kevin Love, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, even Kyle Lowry when he gets in, are all crashing the glass, finding ways to box out a guy, doing all the smart fundamental things that are taught to you at a young age, and you just adapt to over time, but not many people think about in just simply boxing out. They're doing all the right things and figuring it out and holding them off the glass, which is super important with a team that is outsized. The Heat are finding ways to use their smaller lineups to an advantage at some point. They win that Game 4, take a 3-1 series lead. Then they followed up with a Game 5, 112-103 loss in the Garden. The Heat were down a lot in this game. There was no real reason, or not reason. There was no real point in this game where I was just like, yeah, Miami actually can make this comeback. Until about the fourth quarter, and it was down to like 12. And I was like, okay, maybe Jimmy can find some buckets because he had like 14 points at this point, shooting 3 for 10. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe. And then it gets down to 8. I'm like, okay, single digits. Now it's down to 6, and it's like, okay, now this game is really interesting. But Jimmy, like I said, was really inefficient. Someone who else was really efficient, Kevin Love. I think he was 2 for 13 or 2 for 12. You can't have a guy like Kevin Love shooting 12 shots and going that bad percentage-wise. But it's also hard to stop them from doing that when Jalen Brunson is scoring 38 on the other end. That was the key to this game. You just couldn't stop Jalen Brunson. And I think this is the kind of the situation with, like I had talked about with the Lakers and the Warriors of like, hey, look, we understand we're going to lose this game. It's whatever. You're bringing it back to Miami in front of the home crowd. The boys are going to be ready. I expect a good bounce back here from Miami. Once again, this could be a massive hot take and take me down, and we could be seeing a Game 7 next time we talk. But I think Miami can close this one out. I think they were, kind of, I don't want to say punting because punting isn't the right way to describe it, but more of like, hey, whatever. If they win it, they win it. We can find a way to win it back at home on Game 6. And Game 6 will be tonight as this episode drops once again, like I mentioned, Friday. The Heat have a 3-2 series lead. And then moving on to the other Eastern Conference series that not wrapped up tonight. That's going to wrap up on Saturday. That really came to a weird point now, which I didn't see coming. We'll quickly backtrack to Game 5, which happened on Tuesday, where the 76ers and the Celtics played a 115-105 victory, or 103 victory for the 76ers, and Joel MVP really showed out that game. James Harden, he might have not had the super high scoring night, but he had 15 and 10. And something I want to note on throughout this series with Philadelphia is that Harden is starting to find and understand that, hey, look, I'm not Houston Harden anymore. Can I be at times? Absolutely. He's one of the most gifted scorers, if not the most gifted scorer we've ever seen in the NBA. And he's starting to realize, hey, you know what? I have Joel Embiid on my team. Tyrese Maxey is starting to become a star for this team, right? Let me do what I do best and facilitate. Because I think at this point in Harden's career, he is a better facilitator than he is scorer at this point. He just knows what he's doing. He has a great eye for the game and a great eye on the court. And it just only expands his game to another level, which allows him to play for this long at this much of a price that he's going to be asking for. He's going to be becoming a free agent this offseason. But he had a great game. He's starting to get his swagger back. Jason Tatum for the Celtics, that was an awful start in that game. It was absolutely trash. Another game where he started like 3 for 10 at one point, and it's just like, what are we doing? Like find another shot. It's not always going to work that contested catch and shoot fade from the hash or from the top of the key. Like that's just not your shot. Find a way. You're so much lengthier and athletic than a lot of the guys that are guarding you. Find a way into the paint, get a mid-range, attack the basket, maybe get fouled, head to the free throw line. It was a weird, it's a weird thing going on with Tatum right now. You need to get Jaylen Brown the ball more. He's your other top star. You got to find a way to get him the ball more in the fourth quarter and crunch time. But this game wasn't really as close throughout it. It got close late, and Boston just couldn't hit a free throw. That's just kind of what it came down to. And then the Game 6 that happened tonight of me recording on Thursday, it was a quote-unquote, I guess you could say defensive battle, or maybe a just shitty shooting battle. 95-86 victory for the Celtics when all signs pointed that Philly was going to end up closing this one out at home and just clinching the series, moving on to the next round. Boston finds a way. One of the things I wrote down for myself to remember to talk about is that the Celtics go down to a 7-man rotation. And, we've been seeing in the playoffs the starting lineup of Marcus Smart, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford. And Al Horford, although he is a very crafty, I guess you could say, defender, he's no match for Joel Embiid, right? At some point, you got to realize that Embiid is not going to feel threatened by Al Horford or whatever double team is thrown at him by Tatum, Brown, Smart, whatever. He's just too big for that. So the Celtics in this game decide that they're going to go with the starting lineup. Instead of Derek White, they're going to throw Robert Williams in there, their best defender, a guy who could have potentially won Defensive Player of the Year last year, was one of the leaders in blocks last year in the NBA, very good rim protector. And now you're playing with Horford and Robert Williams at the point where, if he gets switched on to Horford, Robert drops and plays double, gets the double team and plays defense on Embiid as well. Same thing vice versa. Williams gets the matchup. Horford runs and doubles him quickly. You get two bigger bodies instead of throwing Marcus Smart at him, who, yes, a scrappy defender, but then, you're facing a 7-foot Joel Embiid with a 6'3" Marcus Smart. It's not really affecting anybody. So they threw the 2-man bigger lineup out there and then allowed Brogdon and White to come off the bench, which now allows Brogdon to come in for Smart or Brown and White to come in for Tatum or Brown, and kind of mix and match that lineup around a little bit and find craftier ways to score. It was an all-around team game for the Celtics that ended up winning this. Smart had 22 tonight offensively, and I think it's a known thing that in the NBA, defense wears you out. So when Marcus Smart's not having to worry about full-on getting bodied by Joel Embiid, he's allowed to focus on hitting his shots more. And James Harden went like poop this game. He shot like poop. I literally wrote down Harden poop. I didn't get to watch much of this game, but I was able to watch a good amount of it after the fact and during like half times or the end of the periods in hockey. So I was able to catch up with a lot of it and figure it out. But yeah, this game's now tied 3-3 going to a Game 7. Our first Game 7 in the second round will be happening on Saturday night, I assume. It'll take place. That'll be fun primetime game at the Garden. JB's already calling for the crowd to get super hype and get loud because they haven't bring the energy. And I can't wait to see what happens in that game. But that's going to be it for the NBA throughout these playoffs. Like I said, these games are getting really exciting. I know it doesn't sound like but it's also 12 in the morning for me when I'm recording this. So trust me, I am excited for this Game 7. That'll be coming up on Saturday night. I'm excited for the 2 games here on Friday because, if Miami doesn't close this one out here at home, now we got a Game 7 in the Garden. And if LeBron and AD can't close this one out at home, now we got a Game 7 in Golden State. I don't know what I was going to call the arena that Golden State was in, but we got a Game 7 there as well, and those will happen on Sunday, I assume. If either one of those happen, I don't think there's any other notes from the NBA that really happened besides maybe Mikal Bridges becoming a Grizzly. I don't know. I don't want to speculate on anything, but I don't know. It's looking interesting. It's looking very interesting. They revealed a lot of the draft combine invitees. There's way too many of them for me to even try to list off. The only notable thing is if you see it, and why is Victor Wembanyama the number 1 overall pick easily? Why is he not invited? It's because his French Euro League play is still going on throughout that time. They're in the playoffs right now, so he will not be able to make it over to the States in time for the combine that happens, I don't know, in a couple weeks maybe. I can't remember the exact date for that, but that's why he is not able to participate in that. You see a lot of the guys that are you may have seen in college and think, I don't think this guy's an NBA player. They got time to withdraw their name. But the draft lottery should be next Tuesday. Hang on. I've been an absolute buffoon when it comes to telling you guys dates. Yes, Tuesday, May 16th is going to be the NBA draft lottery. That's going to be the fun one because whoever gets the number 1 overall pick, congratulations, you got a generational center in Victor Wembanyama. And if you fall below that, it's going to be a fun offseason with trades and free agency. And we'll have all the offseason recaps for you starting next Friday after the NBA lottery. We'll do our first few with whoever draws 1, 2, and 3 in the draft. The first top 3 picks teams will be talked about next Friday in the offseason lookout. So go ahead and look out for that one. That's coming out next week. But that's going to be it for the NBA. Let's just kick it right over on to the NHL, which is having a great playoffs as well. And kind of where we left off at with this, we'll talk about the games that happened tonight because those are the ones that are fresh on my mind. We'll start with the Hurricanes and the Devils. Game 4 took place on Tuesday in New Jersey after that routing in Game 3 on Sunday afternoon. The Hurricanes and the Devils took place on Tuesday, Game 4, 6-1 victory for the Hurricanes. They said none of this funny business anymore. Let's just take it right to them and show them, hey, look, we're the more veteran team. I understand that your future is bright there in New Jersey, but this has been our time. Now that the 1 seed Bruins are out, we're the favorites now to make the Stanley Cup final in the East. So we're gonna come out here with a lot of energy. Sebastian Aho, who got in a fight the game prior with Jack Hughes, came out with a great game there. The Devils just look absolutely dead during that game. And now that the Devils look dead in that game, they're completely dead in the playoffs because Game 5 took place tonight in Carolina, and it was a 3-2 overtime victory for the Hurricanes. Jasper Fast with the tip-in goal at the end to send them to the Eastern Conference Finals off the shot from, I think, from Kotkaniemi, I believe it was, with the entry shot. Got tipped in by Fast. Went in. One of the things to talk about for New Jersey that they did this game is they've been starting Vitek Vanecek, who they got in free agency, who used to be a part of the Washington Capitals, was their goalie for a while, or their backup goalie. He flip-flopped back and forth. They signed him this offseason, and the Devils went to Akira Schmid. He's been their backup, their number 3 for a while, with an injury to a couple of guys. He jumped up to the number 2. He got thrusted in here in this game, and they're like, hey, look, I know the season's on the line, but good luck, pal. And he did a good job, held 2 goals in regulation. It was just the offensive part that they couldn't get done, but then again, the Hurricanes have a pretty solid defense with Dougie Hamilton leading that front, and Brent Burns, 2 veteran guys in the league that are both great two-way defenders, can play offense and defense for you. And the Hurricanes are a real threat going through in the playoffs. They look like idiots on the road when they have their white jerseys, white pants, and red helmets. They look like absolute idiots, but they're a good team. Don't let that distract you. They're a very good team. And we'll just go ahead and move on to the Kraken and the Stars, and I'll just get it out of the way because I am frustrated watching this series. We'll kick it back to Game 3 that happened on Sunday before I recorded. 7-2, back to when I had happier times. We had scored 7 goals in that game. We were absolutely running through the Stars defense. Like we would do a chip and charge, which if you don't know what a chip and charge is, it's when you get towards the blue line, you kick the puck into their zone, and you just skate as fast as you can back to the boards to try to retrieve the puck, kind of like a self-pass to yourself. We had a lot of chip and charge going. Our forecheck was insanely good, which is hitting and checking your guys in the zone. We were playing very well on that end, but really good high energy from that game. And then we moved on to Game 6 where we lost 6-3, and we had absolutely no energy the entire time until the third period when we realized that we were down 5-2, and it was like, hey, we kind of need to score some goals right now. Or it was 4-1, I believe, and it's like, we got to score. There was no defense, no energy, like I said. Grubauer was standing on his head. Once again, if you don't know what standing on your head means, it's a goalie. Standing on your head means you're absolutely a brick wall back there. Grubauer was standing on his head. And then there was a call that happened in Game 5 where Philip Grubauer, the goalie for the Kraken, was checked by Jamie Benn, the center for the Dallas Stars. Checked by him intentionally, knocked him out of his blue crease where the goalie stands, and didn't allow Grubauer to get back into his position, which led to a shot and a goal, and it ruined all momentum after we had scored a goal. They went to review, and it was a long review, and they ultimately said that since Grubauer was out of the blue crease whenever the second check happened, that it doesn't count as goalie interference since it's fair play since he's out of the crease, which I don't know if you need any more evidence of literally cross-checking a goalie that has his back skate on the crease, but whatever. It doesn't matter. I forgot that Seattle isn't one of the hottest markets in hockey right now, and you actually have fans there that actually care about the sport, unlike people in Dallas who still don't understand the concept of hockey, it looks like. But whatever. It kind of ruined our momentum. They ended up winning that game 6-3. And then Game 6 that happened tonight, Game 5 that happened tonight, they scored 2 quick goals. Defense was terrible. Adam Larson got a goal back. It was 2-1. Then they open up the second period, literally 45 seconds into the period. They score. Adam Larson gets another tip in. It's 3-2. And then this entire time, we just can't find a way to score. We had a couple of scoring opportunities, and we just fell short. Couldn't find the back of the net. They came out with more energy than us, and that's just been the story of the series so far. If the Kraken don't come out with any energy, they're going to be way behind. And this Stars team that have a lot of veterans on it, have played a lot of playoff games and have played in a lot of Stanley Cup championship games. They know how to attack. They know how to play in these big moments. And a lot of our guys are a little bit younger or role players on those teams, so they don't fully grasp the concept yet. Game 6 is going to be Saturday night in Seattle, or it might be Saturday afternoon. I can't remember. It's going to be earlier, but hopefully we bring the energy. The crowd's going to bring the energy. Hopefully the players can bring the energy and try to force a Game 7 like we did in the Colorado series when we went down 3-2. I'm not feeling too confident about it, I'm going to be honest with you, but we have exceeded any expectations so far this playoffs, so I'm super proud of us for how we've played. Moving on to the other Western Conference series, the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers. They played their Game 3 on Monday. It was Monday, yep. I know my days of the week. Monday. I'm sorry, guys. It's super late right now, but I want to get this podcast out to you guys on Friday so you guys can get stuff going into the weekend. Vegas and Edmonton played their game 3 on Monday, and Vegas just came into their place. And once again, another bet I told you guys on Monday morning when I put out the podcast, I said I'm taking Vegas on a heavy underdog money line. They were plus 142, 152 to win the game. I said you can take a money line or plus 1.5 on the puck line, and they won 5-1. So maybe you should listen to what some of my bets are if you pay attention to some of the late podcast here. They won that game 5-1, looked absolutely dominant. Jack Eichel, who had come over from Buffalo, was one of the top young guys in the league, suffered some injuries, had some contracts things with Buffalo, kind of hated in the entire state of New York. But Vegas got him there. He's starting to find a resurgence there with Vegas. He had an absolutely great game for them. I think a goal and 2 assists. And then game 4, which happened on Wednesday, Edmonton ended up bouncing back in that game, winning 4-1. The big note about this game was at the end of the game where they were up 4-1, like I have mentioned. And Alex Pietrangelo, a forward for the Vegas Golden Knights, was skating down the right side of the boards with Leon Draisaitl, a name that we have mentioned in the past, with the Oilers being a very pivotal person on this team, a very important part to the team. Pietrangelo comes down and intentionally just absolutely slashes the shit out of Leon Draisaitl across the chest, arms, and lower body area. Immediate penalty, ejection. We'll be seeing you. It came out earlier today that Pietrangelo is getting a 1-game suspension for his actions, which means he'll miss Game 6. A very, very important game here where it is tied up, and you got to find an advantage. Vegas back at home trying to defend home ice. Edmonton could come in there and I'm all over the place right now, guys. Yes, in Vegas, and potentially defend home ice, but Edmonton now with Vegas losing one of their top forwards, Edmonton could capitalize on that. And then over to another series, which I don't know what to even talk about this with, the Florida Panthers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Game 3 was a 3-2 overtime victory for the Panthers, which put them up 3-0 in the series. During that game, Ilya Samsonov, the goalie for the Toronto Maple Leafs, got hurt and had to exit the game. Oh my gosh, I just completely forgot the name of the goalie for Toronto that came in for them. I'm going to find that. But anyways, they absolutely looked awful in overtime. They got that game to overtime. Joseph Woll, the goalie that came in, you could tell he was shitting his pants the entire time. I've been told that he's been okay this season, but he looked like he was shitting his pants. Terrible effort in overtime that led to the goal for them to lose the game. And they were down 3-0 going into Game 4 in Florida. And Toronto bounced back. They ended up winning 2-1, close game. Hull looking really good in that game. I think he settled in and figured it out. Now the question is, they're down 3-0. Can they come back? I don't know. It would be cool for the aspect of the 3-0 comeback in hockey. I don't think there's ever been a 3-0 comeback, or if there is, it's been a long time. So it would be super cool if that's the case. I know a buddy of mine would be super happy if that is the case, but I don't know. They're going back to Toronto, so maybe they get an advantage going back home. But you need to take this on home ice if you want to keep this series going. Obviously, no shit, Alex. But I think if Toronto plays their game, fast-paced, aggressive on offense, get out and score early, and don't let Florida have a chance in the late second, early third period to get a couple goals in, like we saw with Boston was the issue. And Toronto could potentially come back here. But now we're starting to see now, for Boston's sake, that this lead that they blew to Florida, this Florida team isn't a fluke. They're pretty good. They were the President's Trophy winners last year for a reason, which means they had the best record in the NHL last year. They did that for a reason. They kind of retooled this offseason, and now they're showing off now their new shiny tool in Matthew Tkachuk and how well he is playing with Sergei Bobrovsky in goal, doing a great job. But those are the games in the NHL that are kind of taking place. That Leafs and Panthers Game 5 will take place tonight on Friday when this comes out. The Oilers and Golden Knights Game 5 will happen on Friday tonight when this is coming out. As I mentioned, Stars and Kraken on Saturday. And then Sunday, if there is a Game 6 for Toronto and Florida, that'll take place then. And then the Golden Knights and Oilers will play their Game 6 on Sunday, where one of the two teams can close it out in that series. And this is getting fun. We'll find out who the Hurricanes are potentially playing maybe by the end of the weekend. If you're a Maple Leafs fan, which I know there's one out there, hopefully we don't find out by the end of the weekend who the Hurricanes are playing. And we'll see if the Kraken can kind of find a way back into my happiness right now, because they are currently the only team that are going in the playoffs for me, and I need them to keep surviving. But that's going to be it for the NHL. We'll talk. We're only going to mention one thing about the MLB, just because it's getting kind of late into the podcast. And I know it's going to be a Red Sox thing, so it's not really talking about anything to do with other teams. But shout out to Kenley Jansen, former Dodger and Brave closer, now closer for the Red Sox, who just got his 400th career save, the 7th relief pitcher all-time to ever record 400 career saves. Did it against his former team, the Atlanta Braves, and the team he loved growing up because of his favorite player, Andrew Jones. Kenley Jansen, one of the nicest humans in the MLB, always a great teammate. So it's great to see him in Boston, and great to see him complete this milestone in Boston with a couple of his other Dodger teammates. So it's super cool for him to do all that. Some college things to talk about. Julian Phillips, Tennessee forward, who declared for the draft and is invited to the combine, is entering the transfer portal. That's kind of the big news. And Micah Pittman, wide receiver from Florida State, who entered the transfer portal, had committed to Utah. And Trey Amos, who in the middle of the week had entered the transfer portal out of Louisiana. A lot of talk about him going to Florida following Billy Napier. But he commits to Alabama and joins that secondary that is already pretty good right now, with Kool-Aid McKinstry, the number one corner in the class for next year in the NFL, the NFL draft. And then the other thing that came out is the NFL schedule. A couple games to note here. The first game of the year on Thursday night football. The Chiefs will have their banner ceremony at home against the Detroit Lions. That'll be a fun game for them. The first Sunday night football game that week, the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants face off, a little division rivalry going on. Monday Night Football that week on 9/11. Interesting date, interesting time to have the New York Jets be playing on that day. Holy shit, I just realized that. That is super coincidental. Please don't clip this. God, that is very awkward. Yeah, the Jets and the Bills play on 9/11. Sweet. Moving on very quickly. Thanksgiving Day games. Lions and Packers. Cool to see that division rivalry game play on Thanksgiving. Followed by, obviously, the Cowboys are going to be taking on the Commanders. We are Commander bum playing on that day. Guys, it's so late. I don't know why the hell I'm still recording. This shit's terrible. I'm sorry. If you're at this point in the episode, please, God, don't encourage me to do this late ever again. Seahawks and 49ers, the other game on Thanksgiving. First ever Black Friday game on Amazon, because you know that a certain somebody is paying a lot of money to get that game on Amazon. You know what I'm saying? Jets and Dolphins happening there. Another divisional game. Aaron Rodgers obviously going to be on television a lot. Christmas games. The Nickelodeon game, everybody's favorite game. The Slime Zone, SpongeBob popping out of the end zones. Patrick running 40-yard dashes. And obviously Nate Burleson, a 30-year-old man, commentating the game on Nickelodeon, as he should. The Chiefs and Raiders have that game on Nickelodeon. Then the other Christmas game, the Eagles and the Giants, followed that one. And then finally the Super Bowl rematch from, I'm not even going to try to guess which Super Bowl it is. I knew it happened in 2012, though. The 49ers and the Ravens take place on Christmas Eve, or I don't know if it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. It's the Christmas games, whatever. And then to talk about the London games, there are 3 London games. The Jags, obviously, they're like a relocated team to London at this point. They just play there so much. They play the Falcons there on the 1st, and I think that game they play at Wembley. And then they play next weekend against the Bills in London as well. And I think they play at the Tottenham Spurs soccer stadium. I think I got that right. Shout out to a friend of mine who is a Tottenham Spurs fan, I believe. So shout out to you. You getting a football game in a football stadium. So coincidental. And then the Titans take on the Ravens in London as well. I don't know what stadium that's taking place in. And then the 2 Germany games, because they had success last year with the Bucks and the Seahawks in Germany. Yep, I remember that. The Chiefs and the Dolphins play their game on the 5th of November in Germany. That's going to be a great game. And then obviously the game everybody's been waiting for, the Patriots and the Colts. Alex's hatred team growing up in the Colts, now favorite team of the Indianapolis Colts for Anthony Richardson, going against my former favorite team in the New England Patriots growing up. So that'll be cool. That's going to be happening on the 12th of November in Germany. Maybe I'll find my way over there. Probably definitely not. But some cool specialty games there. Just kind of briefly looking over some of these other Sunday night football games. They're going to be flexing them, so it's not really going to matter. I don't see any that are super intriguing. I guess the Jets and Chiefs week 4, Rodgers versus Mahomes. Dolphins, Eagles week 7, if Tua is alive. Eagles, Cowboys week 14. But yeah, I mean, that's it. Oh, nope. Packers don't mean anything anymore. I got to keep thinking myself on that, but that's it for the NFL schedule release. If you go to Twitter and find a bunch of different teams, there's a lot of really cool and funny schedule releases that they do every single year on social media. So go check those out. And finally, real quick, I know this has been a long podcast of me just literally talking into a microphone as I do every single week for almost an hour. I've wasted your time, but I appreciate you spending this much time if you've gotten this far with me. I'll try to give you some gambling advice, which please God don't take it, but if you somehow think that I know what I'm talking about, then go ahead and listen. The Knicks and the Heat play. I'm not really liking anything in that game, just to give you a heads up. Player prop wise, I don't know. It's a little too far out for player props. Warriors-Lakers. I'm just going to ride with the wave and thinking that the Warriors are going to come back for the ratings. So give me the Warriors plus 2.5 or plus 120 on the money line if you want them to win. I'll just say screw it and throw it out there. And then I know this is in TD Garden. I know it's a questionable one. Give me Philly plus 7.5 on Saturday night at TD Garden, the secondary Garden. They're not going to be as loud. James Harden's going to have a game. Joel Embiid is going to have a game. I'm not picking a side here on who I want to win, but 7.5 is a lot of points for a Game 7 with one of the better defensive teams in the NBA. I also don't mind the over/under of 203 total. I know Game 6 was a low-scoring game, but I think there's a chance that this one can go over too, so look out for that. The NHL on Friday night, Toronto and Florida. I don't want to pick a side in that. And then Edmonton, Vegas. I'm going to go Edmonton on the money line. I think that there's too much going on with Vegas right now. I know that they're at home, but Edmonton minus 130 on the money line, I think, is a really good pick there for that game. The MLB on Friday night. Take the Red Sox money line against the Cardinals. Cardinals suck ass. I know they just beat the Cubs 3 out of the 3 games that they played. But Adam Wainwright's on the mound, and Adam Wainwright throws it as hard as I do. And if you know me, I was not an absolute flamethrower. So just go ahead and take the Red Sox. James Paxton's making his Red Sox debut. He's going to dice up that Cardinals lineup. Take the Braves with Spencer Strider pitching. That's a really good pick for in my opinion. And then take the Miami Marlins money line. Yuri Perez making his MLB debut, hopping up from AA to AAA pretty quickly. Former Pensacola Blue Wahoo. I've seen him pitch live, so I can tell you this guy's a stud. So go ahead and take him. And they're wearing their teal throwback jerseys. Yeah, absolutely. Easiest pick ever. And am I about to give you a golf pick? Absolutely I am. Do I know anything about golf? No, but do I bet on it every single time with some random guy? Yes. Why wouldn't I? So I'm just going to give you a guy who has been pretty steady so far. And yeah, you know what? Screw it. Jason Day plus 750 to win the AT&T Byron Nelson Championship this weekend. Why not? Screw it. I don't know anything about golf, but it's fun to just throw $1 on these things. Like I did the horse racing, and every single one of my horses were in first place at some point throughout the damn race, and none of them won, and I lost a chance on like $33. So shout out to all those horses. They're probably all getting put down, and probably for a good reason. That's the show. That's the weekend. Have a great weekend. Watch all the games. It's been an absolute shit show for me betting, but I hope you guys have a better chance than I do this weekend. Please enjoy the games. Please be safe. Don't kill any horses like I want to. Stay safe. This has been Alex McNinch, and you guys just got your Sports Digest. I'll see you on Monday.